Hey, this is Todd from the Construction Leading Edge podcast over at constructionleadingedge.com. Welcome to today's episode where we're going to talk about re-examining your job as the CEO. So whether you are currently a business owner or you are planning to start a business in the next few years, or maybe you're in year one, we're going to talk about how you should think about your job as the CEO. And here's the deal. Most of us who grew up in the 80s especially, have believed a lie that was propagated beginning exactly on a specific date, began being propagated on June 22nd, 1984. And this lie, this sinister lie, has been propagated to millions of people ever since June 22nd, 1984. And it was propagated by, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see the image of this beloved character, Mr. Miyagi. And here is what Mr. Miyagi said. It's the statement, "If do right, no can defense." That's right. If do right, no can defense. That's what Mr. Miyagi said. And if you've seen the movie Karate Kid, you'll know that, of course, he was talking about the infamous crane kick scene. So as it turns out, not only is that statement grammatically incorrect, it is apparently karatically incorrect as well. So if you remember this scene where Daniel-san is standing, he's fighting Johnny from the Cobra Kai and the karate championship. He's standing there with his hands up in the air over his head, with his left foot up off the ground in this crane kick position. You'll notice there are some weaknesses there. It can actually be defended. First of all, there are a few things that you want to keep in mind if someone ever tries to use the crane kick on you. Number one, it's best not to run directly at their kicking foot with your face, right? Now, you may be wondering, how do you know the crane kick is coming? Well, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see this, or if you remember, you may notice that Daniel-san very subtly telegraphs that the crane kick is coming. So the truth, the actual truth, is if do right, can defend. And let me ask you this. What if there's a myth that there's something that you believe to be true about being the CEO or being a business owner that's false? What if there's something that's propagated through the media that's false about being a business owner? What if there's something you've believed for the past 1 year, 5 years, 20 years about being the CEO that is false? Well, and then what are the symptoms of this wrong belief? So that's what we're going to talk about in this episode today. So let's look at some of the biggest problems for construction business owners, right? We talk to dozens of business owners every week. We've worked with 300 plus construction business owners over the past 5 years. I've spent the past 25 years working in construction. And some of the most common symptoms you'll see with construction business owners would be burnout, stress-related health issues, lack of sleep. I've heard people talk about having heart problems like atrial fibrillation that are caused by stress. People who have broken their teeth from teeth grinding caused by stress, lack of sleep, putting on extra weight, alcoholism, substance abuse, mental health issues. The unfortunate reality is that 70% of construction businesses fail in the first 5 years. This one's pretty hard-hitting, but the rate of suicide for men in construction is about 4 times higher than the general population. And it is, in construction, we have the second highest rate of suicide of all workplace industries. So what if some of our biggest problems in the industry, some of the most painful issues that construction business owners deal with, can be traced back to a wrong belief? And there's a statement that we believe, which it's, how do I blank? How do I blank? Well, let me tell you about Tanner. Tanner was a young man who played on the Little League baseball team that I coached several years ago. My son played baseball, and I coached his team. And Tanner desperately wanted to be a catcher. All right. Now, Tanner wasn't the most athletic young man. Okay. But he wanted to be a catcher. And he asked me if he could catch in a game. His mom came to me one day and said, Tanner would just love to catch. I bought him catcher's equipment. I bought him a mitt and the shin guards and the face mask and the chest protector, like telling me she'd spend a lot of money on this equipment and she would love to be able to see Tanner use that equipment. So finally, about halfway through the season, I said, all right, Tanner, we're going to let you take some batting practice, give you a shot at being the catcher. So he caught a little bit in practice. And then I said, all right, Tanner, you're going in the game, man. You're going to be the starting catcher. You're starting behind the plate today. Tanner was so excited. He was finally going to get to catch. But then he got out there, and if you're wondering how it went, let me just tell you this. Between innings, after he caught half of an inning, he was sitting on the bench, and it was time for us to go back out on the field. And I said, all right, Tanner, let's rock and roll, man. And Tanner just shook his head, sitting in the dugout on the bench, shaking his head with the shin guards on. And I'm pretty sure he was crying, but he did not want to go back out there. He was miserable. He hated it. He was stressed out, and he did not want to go back out there. You see, Tanner thought it was all about how do I achieve it? How do I get in the game? How do I get behind the plate? How do I get to be the starting catcher? And a lot of us believe that the most important question we need to answer is, how do I get it? How do I achieve it? In business, it's, how do I start a business? How do I get my first paycheck as a business owner? How do I get the contract signed? How do I get the employee to agree to come work with us? How do I, maybe you're an employee. This is one that I was guilty of, is how do I get to the next thing? How do I get the promotion? How do I get the raise? I was always so focused on getting to the next thing. Just get it. And then in business, it can be, how do I achieve a revenue number? How do I get to be $1 million a year in revenue? How do I get to $10 million a year? How do I get to $20 million a year? How do I get to 10 employees? How do I get my first $1 million project? How do I get to whatever? How do I achieve it? And let's think about this. Imagine that your dream was to become a Navy SEAL, all right? And then somehow, then let's imagine the Navy SEALs were running this contest, and you won a contest, and they said, you win, congratulations, you're a Navy SEAL, here's your trident, and they geared you up, and they just sent you out on a mission with no training, on a combat mission with no training. But you were a Navy SEAL, right? You looked like a Navy SEAL. What would probably happen in that case? What if you dreamed of being a wide receiver in the NFL, and you didn't play college football, you didn't work out, you weren't prepared, but one day you got the call and you were thrown into the game, put the pads on, put the uniform on, put the helmet on, and you were thrown into the game to start running routes against NFL cornerbacks, defensive backs, and linebackers. What do you think would happen? And then imagine, maybe you said, I always dream of being a NASCAR driver, driving a NASCAR in an actual NASCAR race at Daytona. And then maybe you won a contest and you got to jump into a car at the Daytona 500 without any training, without putting the work in. How do you think that would go? Let's talk about what happens when you're focused on, how do I get it? Let's talk about what happens. If any of this sounds familiar, let's talk about what happens when you're focused on, how do I achieve it? How do I get it? Let's think about that. What are the consequences? When all you are focused on is getting to the next thing, how do I get it? Well, I'll tell you from experience, here are a few things that I've done. You take shortcuts. If all you're focused on is getting it, you will take shortcuts. You'll bypass the process. You'll take shortcuts to get there. You will likely get yourself in over your head. You'll do whatever you have to do to get it. You'll tell people what you think they need to hear in order to get it. in order to get the loan, in order to get somebody hired, in order to get the contract signed. You will take unnecessary risks and you'll gamble, quite frankly. You'll gamble and take unnecessary risks. And then what happens then? When you take shortcuts, get yourself in over your head, tell people whatever you think they need to hear, do whatever you have to do to get it and take risks, what happens? You probably will lose money. You may even drive your business 100 miles an hour off a cliff. That's going to cause stress for you and your family. You will likely have some health issues. It's going to affect your sleep. It's going to affect your physical health. It will affect your family. And then long term down the road, you'll be left with regrets. And let me tell you, I speak from experience here. So if you are stuck in this belief that all that matters is how you get it, and you haven't seen the consequences of that, good for you, but they're coming. And take it from a guy who has dealt with those consequences. There's a better statement that you want to focus on, which we'll get to in just a minute. I heard a story that Charles Barkley, the famous NBA player, told that early in his career, he went to Moses Malone, who was a bit of a mentor. They played on the same team, and this was Charles' rookie year, maybe his second year. And he went to Moses and said, "Why am I not playing? Moses, man, why am I not getting playing time?" And Charles was hoping for his wise, caring mentor to maybe pat him on the head and give him some words of encouragement. And Moses Malone said, "Young fellow, you're fat and you're lazy." That's what he told him. You're fat and you're lazy. You can't be 300 pounds in the NBA. And Charles Barkley said, "I started to cry a little bit. However, it was a turning point in my career." Charles Barkley said, when Moses told me, "Dude, you can't be 300 pounds and in the NBA. You're fat and you're lazy," it became a turning point in his career. Because, you see, Charles was asking, how do I get it? How do I get in the game? But Moses Malone helped him answer the question that he should have been asking, which is not how do I achieve it, not how do I get it, and this is the lie that too many people believe. The lie is that a lot of people believe that the most important question they need to answer is how do I achieve it? How do I get it? How do I hit a revenue number? How do I land a certain size project? How do I get my business started? How do I grow my team to a certain size? But that's like saying, I want to be a Navy SEAL, an NFL wide receiver, or a NASCAR driver without doing the training. And the question we should be asking is this: how do I prepare myself to sustain it? The question you should be asking yourself is not how do I get it or how do I achieve it? The question you should be asking is how do I prepare myself to sustain it? You see, it's the preparation that matters. If you're a Navy SEAL, it's not the trident, it's not the gear, it's the training that matters. For NFL wide receivers, it's not the uniform, it's not the helmet, it's the training, the experience that matters. For NASCAR drivers, it's the training that makes you a NASCAR driver, not the fact that you can sit behind a wheel. So what this means, how do I prepare myself to sustain it, is specifically how do I upgrade my mindset as a leader? What are the things in my blind spots? We all have blind spots, and the nature of a blind spot is you can't see what's there. How do I prepare myself to lead a team? How do I prepare myself to execute on a project? How do I prepare myself to lead a company of a certain size? What are the foundational systems that I need to put in place? What are the processes and systems that my business needs to be built on? How do I grow and lead a team of people long term? Those are much better questions. See, what I found after leading businesses and projects over the past 25 years is that there are two attitudes about preparation. There are two attitudes toward preparation. There's the if attitude toward preparation, which says, I'll do the work to prepare if my business takes off. I'll do the work to prepare if I ever get to a revenue number. I'll do the work to prepare if my team ever gets to a certain size. I'll do the work to prepare if I ever land that big project or that client. I'll do the work. I'll get prepared if it ever happens. Because why would I waste the time preparing for something that doesn't happen? I'm just going to wait until it happens and then I'll scramble and prepare, right? That's the if attitude toward preparation. Then there's the until attitude toward preparation, which says I'll do the work to prepare until my business takes off. I'll do the work to prepare until I achieve a revenue number. I'll do the work to prepare until my team gets to a certain size. I'll do the work to prepare myself until I land that big project or that client. So think about this. Which approach do you think works better? Maybe a better, more accurate question is, which approach do you think works at all? Do you think the if attitude toward preparation works? Like, I'll prepare to be a Navy SEAL if I ever become a Navy SEAL. I'll prepare to drive in the Daytona 500 if I ever get behind the wheel, right? Think about what are some of the problems with the if attitude? What are some of the problems with the if attitude? The reality is, if you believe in the if attitude, you'll probably never get your shot because you're just not prepared. I heard this quote from Garrett Moore. He is a former Navy SEAL I interviewed on the podcast sometime in the past few years. He's the CEO of a prefabrication business that at the time they prefabricated walls and floor panels for houses. And he said this that really stuck with me. And I actually heard this at a shooting range a couple of months ago. Here's the quote. Amateurs train until they can get it right. Okay? Amateurs train until they can get it right. Maybe you're thinking, that sounds pretty darn good. No, that's what I do. I train until I can get it right. Amateurs train until they can get it right. Professionals train until they can't get it wrong. Professionals train until they can't get it wrong. That's how Navy SEALs think about preparation. They train and they prepare until they can't get it wrong. Amateurs will train until they get lucky and it actually works, and then they say, all right, that's good enough. We're ready. That's how amateurs train. Professionals train until they can't get it wrong. Hey, it's Todd here, and we'll get back to the episode in just a minute. But if you're like most builders and remodelers I talk to, maybe your business feels chaotic. You're working too many hours, you're not making as much money as you should, and it seems like every problem lands in your lap and too much depends on you. That sound familiar? Well, you may be thinking what you need to do is drill a series of 1 inch or 1 1/4 inch diameter holes around the perimeter of your office, insert sticks of dynamite, and blow the whole thing up, and then start over. Well, here's the good news. You're probably just 2 or 3 simple adjustments away from a completely different business. This is what I've found. It's not about working harder. It's not about selling more jobs. You don't need to fire everybody. You don't need to do a complete overhaul. There are not 1,000 things you need to fix, and you don't need dynamite. You just need a few moves that give you maximum results with minimum effort. And that's what I want to help you with. I want to help you uncover those things on a free business evaluation call with our team. Here's what we're going to do on your business evaluation call. We'll uncover the hidden profit that's already in your business. We'll outline the 2 or 3 simple adjustments that are going to give you the most bang for your buck. We'll map out a simple plan so you can have more profit, more control, and ultimately have a business that runs without you. And if it makes sense, we'll talk about how we can work together to help you make that happen. Here's the deal. We only offer a few of these calls a week, and not everyone qualifies. So if you have a wave of work coming at you, or you're planning to grow, now is the time to make those adjustments. Click the link in the show notes right now to schedule your free business evaluation call. Here are a few questions I want to challenge you to think about, right? A few questions I want you to think about. You may want to write these down. You may want to hit pause and think about these if you're listening or watching this. Number 1, what are you focused on achieving right now? What is the thing that you're trying to get? Number 1, what are you focused on achieving right now? Number 2, are you taking any shortcuts? Are you taking any shortcuts to achieving that thing right now? If you're being honest, are you taking shortcuts? Question number 3, are you preparing like an amateur or are you preparing like a professional? And number 4, what do you need to do to be able to sustain what you're trying to achieve? If it's starting your business, if it's scaling up your business, if it's achieving a revenue number, if it's achieving a profitability number, this thing you're trying to achieve, that was the answer to question number 1. What do you need to do to be able to sustain that thing that you're trying to achieve? What are specifically for you, what are the skills you need to acquire? What's the mindset? How do you need to upgrade your mindset? What leadership abilities do you need to improve on? How do you need to get better? How do you need to prepare yourself so you can not only get it, but actually sustain that thing? And then when you look at your business systems, what are the systems and the processes and the foundational pieces of your business that you need to put in place to be able to sustain that thing? So those are my questions that I would challenge you to think about. What are you focused on achieving right now? Are you taking shortcuts? Are you preparing like an amateur, or are you preparing like a professional? And then what do you need to do to be able to sustain that thing that you are trying to achieve? If you're wondering, well, what does that look like? What does it look like to prepare myself as a leader? What does it look like to put foundational systems in place to be able to support it? If you want to hear some examples of what it looks like to focus on sustaining instead of just getting it, then I would encourage you to listen to some recent episodes, some interviews that we've done with clients that we've worked with, construction business owners who are focused on sustaining the thing that they achieve. Alex Gregg, for example, has been focused on growing his leadership and his delegation skills, and then being able to create and articulate the vision for his team and be able to articulate it to his team. And you can listen to the interview with Alex on episode 299 of the Construction Leading Edge podcast. Then there's Sean Dominguez, and he's a great example because in 2022, his business was one of the fastest growing businesses in Florida. So you could say he had achieved it. However, he wanted to and wants to scale his business from $20 million up to $50 million a year. And he talks about putting the foundational systems in place to be able to sustain that kind of success. Fascinating guy, former Navy pilot, started the business in 2018, scaled it up to $20 million already, and has plans to take it up to $50 million. And then there's Max and Lori Christensen. They are putting the systems in place to transition their business to their daughter, Cassie, so she can sustain the business, and Max and Lori can step away from the day-to-day. So they talk about how do you put the systems in place to be able to sustain a succession plan. And that is on episode 286. So my challenge for you is figure out what is it that you're trying to achieve, and look at it differently. Look at it through a different lens and ask yourself, what do I need to do to sustain that thing? That is going to dramatically increase the chances of you sustaining it. It's probably going to increase the chances of you achieving it, and it will, in the process, help you avoid a lot of those pitfalls that many people fall into. Trust me, I talk to people all the time who take shortcuts. They prepare like amateurs, and then their business grows, and the systems they have in place, their leadership skills can't support it, their team can't support it, and unfortunately, it just crumbles. That's just the way things work, and it goes back. So put the systems in place to help you sustain it. Grow your leadership skills, grow yourself so you can sustain it. Grow your team, build your team, put the right team in place so you can sustain success. All right. Thanks so much for listening. Todd Dawalt here. And if you're interested in how we might be able to help you put those systems in place to be able to sustain success, and specifically help you achieve the same things that Alex and Sean and Max and Lori Christensen achieved, I'll share some more about that in just a moment. Hey, it's Todd here. Before you go, remember this. If your business feels stuck or chaotic, chances are you're only 2 or 3 simple adjustments away from unlocking more profit, finally getting your life back and having a business that runs without you. We want to help you identify those adjustments on a free business evaluation call with my team. Click the link in the show notes to book your free call. Remember, calls are limited. Not everybody qualifies. So go book your call, and I'll see you next time.